tell a story what you did, and this way the kids can really see who's full of shit. And I hope people that hear this start asking them those specific questions, because you can't bullshit around those. Because you got to do what I do. You got to say the name of a location. You got to say where you got the gun. You got to go through details, how you did it, and go through each violent act they claim and see where they were.
Yeah.
And then you'll get to the bottom who's real.
And that's what I was going to say, you know, because you made like a scorecard, right, of, you know, all the people that, you know, violent crimes and stuff you did. And, you know, from stabbings, shootings, killings, you know, so you did that. And so now you're able to do somewhat of a head count now, you know, like, you know, where it was when it took place, you know, and that's in one of your books, right?
Yeah, I do it on a lot of shows. I'll throw out 15, 20 names real quick. I'll talk about who I shot, where I shot them, who was there, who drove, who were the witnesses against me, what year, what time, you know, so people know that it's not bullshit, you know. So, you know, I'll throw out like, you know, Nicky Pasqua. When I shot him on July 3rd on 85th Street on his front porch in 1994 or 1995. One of those 2 years. I think it was 95. So, you know, I give the name, location. My cousin, Patsy Adriano, was with me. He was the driver. We drove his Acura, right? I got a good memory. I shot Mike Lavigny in protocols in the chest. And I believe that was 1984. 100 witnesses in there. I shot another guy, Paul Forgione, in front of Gotti Sr.'s mother's house, Fanny, on a conduit. Eddie Earl set him up for me. He worked for Richie Logan, his bus company. The guy that drove with me was Joey DiCorrali. We had another guy, Keith Pellegrino's Corvette convertible. Police went to his house and he told them I had his Corvette convertible. These are facts, right? One after another. The Krasinowski brothers, John and James, I baseball batted them. Johnny Keegan, I baseball batted him. Kid Johnny, I baseball batted him in the head of 91st Street, 101st Avenue, because he robbed my sister's apartment. And he testified in behalf of John Gotti Jr. at his trial. So facts, right? One, names. Stevie Newell just passed away, God rest his soul. Became a friend of mine again, but I shot him after Gotti said he would protect him. And the Gottis did nothing for him. Asked him actually to kill me. That's laughable. But he did my Perfect Gangster, and he talks about me himself, about that everybody's full of shit. They were all afraid of me. So, and it ain't about them being afraid of me. It's just about trying to tell kids, don't buy into these guys, because you don't see any of them doing what I just said. And that's just a handful. I could keep going. You know that.
Yeah. So, I mean, with how you reach out to these families now, because I think that's what you kind of mentioned, you know, on some of your other interviews. So, like, you know, what is one of the best encounters you had with the family, and what was like one of the worst that, you know, didn't work out, you know, when you try to apologize or whatnot?
I baseball batted Johnny Keegan for Joe O'Kane. Joe O'Kane was a guy that was around me. Later on says he was around Junior Gotti. And while he was around Junior Gotti, we stabbed him up. We robbed him twice. Gotti did nothing about it. But Joe O'Kane got stabbed up and killed in prison, in Kane prison. And that doesn't surprise me, because he couldn't stand on his own 2 feet. He kept running to me, but he had a problem with Johnny Keegan. I came out of my house. Joe O'Kane came to my house to get me, and I baseball batted Johnny Keegan. And I felt bad my whole life. I knew the guy since him and his brother, Brian. They lived around the corner from me. They were nice kids, tough kids. They weren't wrong. Joe was a weasel. And Joe worked for me at the time. So I went and I did that. And I tried to apologize to him. He wouldn't accept it. And I don't blame him for not accepting it. I mean, I got to eat that the rest of my life. That was a bad decision on my part. And, you know, and God's my witness. I feel bad, because these kids were tough kids and good kids. But, you know, that's the terrible life of it. And then there's people like the Gotter Up family. I had the brother killed, and his brother he does my show, Perfect Gangster, and he speaks about me. And, you know, he talks truthfully about me. He might not like me, but he talks facts. And he said, you know, if Johnny said he shot 20 people, double that number to 40. So if somebody listens to the Perfect Gangster, they'll see what he says. And the daughter got in touch with me, and, you know, I reached out and I met with the family. We all talked. We cried. We talked about the lousy life that it got us all. And, you know, unfortunately, you can't take this stuff back. I wish I could. But the only thing I can do is try to take some of that shitty stuff and do something positive with, like I do now.
Yeah. I mean, goddamn, that's got to be something, you know, to try and, you know, talk to these people, you know, I mean, because, you know, they're either going to be pissed off or you know, they're going to hear you out, you know, and then when they hear you out, like you said, they have the situation where they're just, you know, so emotionally crying that they know that you both were wrapped up in, you know, you know, the life. And it's just like, they
Well,
understand to some degree.
people are looking for, some answer that'll justify. There is no answer. The
Mhm.
answer is we were all nuts on the street, wild, trying to kill each other. Some of us survived, some of us didn't. And there is no justification of taking a life. The only life I ever said that was justified for taking, and I don't regret it, is Johnny Gebbit. He gang raped a girl, shot her boyfriend, and we had him killed. So I don't, for that, I still haven't apologized. I won't apologize. He was convicted of gang rape and he beat her half to death. So, um, the family does a lot of talking against me, and I gotta say, where were they when he was raping girls? So that's all I can say to them. They might not like that he's dead, but they didn't help those girls that were being tortured and gang raped and beat up by him. So they know what he was, and that's consequences of his life. You do shit things like that, you're gonna pay for it. And I'm not judge and jury, but I don't regret doing it either. So it's a fact, and I can't lie either. While I'm sitting here, I got to tell the truth of how I still feel. That doesn't get justified for me. That he gang raped him. So he lost his life, and I still believe he deserved to lose it.
Right. And, you know, when you were doing these things, were you like, you know, say if you couldn't get a hold of this person, you know, that, you know, you're going after, you know, like he robbed you or did something, you know, would you go after the families, or that was, you know, something morally that you wouldn't go after them or something like that?
The first week I was in prison, I had Johnny Gebbit killed. I told my cousin to kill him, and I was in prison. I had him killed. So people talk about the strength of how much power I had on the street. Of course, I had it. I was in Brazil. I was ordering things. So um, there is no justification, but we had the ability. I had the ability. I had tons of guys to do whatever I wanted when I wanted, and that it's just part of the life.
Yeah, but I mean, would you like wrap up the family members, you know, like the
Oh,
actual?
no, no, no. I didn't hear that what you were saying. No,
Oh,
I stayed away from. Listen. The only time you tell somebody you're going to go near somebody's family is if they try to go near your family. If you try to go near your family, listen. I don't care what position somebody's in. They go near your family. They got family too. They got wives. They got kids. So you make it very open and public to people. You go near my family, and we'll see if one of your family doesn't disappear. Because we don't do that. That's not part of our life. Maybe other organizations do that. We don't do that. But it's very easy to take somebody's family, especially if they're not in the life. So when one thing works one way, it works back the other way. I make that very clear over my life on the street. Even till today, I make that very clear. I just, it's something that we don't do, and I don't believe anybody should do.
yeah, because they didn't do nothing. They didn't have anything to do with that involvement. Say he robbed you, you know what I mean? It's just like, why would you go after them? They didn't have
Well,
anything to do with it.
I think they go after them because they're weak. If somebody they want to be what I used to be, then be it. But then come see me. If you're gonna keep talking, what people do now with the internet, you know what they are. The guys that aren't talking on this internet that really want that done, they're not talking. Maybe they'll try to do it one day. Maybe they have the ability to do it. Maybe not.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't be talking the way they talk. So it's again. I tell kids all the time, when someone's chirping and weak, and they're constantly yapping and they're talking and they're writing, and especially that's why I understand the bullying thing now. Kids in schools, they go to school, someone's bullying them, they go home, they're still bullying them. They can't get away from them. And the adults that are doing that on the internet, and young kids see that and they follow the lead. They're responsible. So you have a lot of this crazy Gotti family does that, and they're not embarrassed or ashamed of themselves because you got kids watching this, and then they do it. So they're responsible for making younger kids, and people like that are responsible for making younger kids react the same way in a bad manner.
Yeah, and it's not. I mean, you know, it's not something you want to teach your kids, you know, because I mean, but now you can just go online and just start talking shit. You know, like you said, the kids get bullied at school and they go home, they got their phone and they're still talking shit. You know, so it's just like they see their parents doing it. You know, so it's just like, you know, to them it's normal and it's okay, but in reality, it's not. You know, I mean, it's still bullying, you know, even if
Only
it's
weak,
online.
weak,
Oh,
weak people do it.
yeah, yeah.
People, envy people, people that don't have nothing in their life. They're not tough. You know, they just miserable themselves, jealous. And so really, we should all be laughing at that every time you see him. You got to tell them, listen, 10 seconds of fame. Go ahead, go get it.
Hey, thanks for watching this clip. This clip came from one of my interviews I did in the past. Please hit subscribe if you want to get more clips like this. Also, if you want to watch the full interview, I'll put a link in the description. Or you can hit the button on the screen to watch the full interview.